Welcome to Leonora Carrington, Mythopoesis, Gallery Wendi Norris' fifth solo presentation dedicated to the incomparable Leonora Carrington. The exhibition unites 15 artworks spanning from 1940 to 1987 in an array of media: her iconic paintings, early sketches, works on paper, sculptural objects, and tapestry, together highlighting the longevity and versatility of Carrington's career. The title of this exhibition, Mythopoesis, comes from the ancient Greek word meaning the making of myths. Each artwork by Carrington is itself like a miniature myth, a story distilled into pictorial form and populated by a cast of fantastical characters: chimerical ghoulies, anthropomorphic oddities, primordial gods and goddesses, feisty crones, and fabled creatures. Lewis Carroll's Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travels, and the storytelling of Edgar Allan Poe were among these sources. Carrington looked to and cited mythology in both direct and oblique ways, and created visual stories that continue to beguile and fascinate her viewers. The influence of mythology is evident in Carrington's use of mythological creatures and characters. Her knowledge of mythology was deep and wide-ranging, and her personal library included everything from books on the Mayan Popol Vuh to Celtic symbology, from Greek gods and goddesses and Norse rune magic to the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Included in the exhibition are artworks in which Carrington cites specific mythological traditions, as in this painting from 1954, She, the White People of the Tuatha De Danann. The Celtic Tuatha De Danann are a mythic race that hails from pre-Christian Celtic Ireland. The She, or fairy folk, are considered an offshoot or later incarnation of the Tuatha De Danann, and their names are frequently used interchangeably. According to legend, the She reside in a parallel otherworld and can trespass between our world and theirs via portals in the form of earthen fairy mounds. Carrington's painting is set in a nondescript interior space, perhaps inside one of these earthen mounds, a threshold to the unknown. In this magical liminal space, a grouping of 5 wispish white beings are gathered around a table set with a simple meal. They are luminescent, androgynous, bald and unclothed, with large black eyes pierced by pearl-like pupils. The group of fairies is joined by an assortment of animals: a hen, an ermine, a cat, and a horned bull who stands sentinel in the right corner of the room and shares the She's otherworldly eyes. She, the White People of Tuatha De Danann, is a prime example of Carrington directly referencing Celtic myth and folkloric traditions. While the Celtic sources in Carrington's work were planted during her childhood, the influence of Mexico and Mesoamerican myth took root in her early adulthood as an emigre who landed in Mexico City in 1941 and would live there for the majority of her life. This tapestry reveals how the mythologies native to Mexico, Mayan and Aztec, among others, fascinated Carrington and seeped into her synthesis of mythological traditions in her artwork. 2 hybrid avian creatures sit aboard a boat in the form of the Aztec god Quetzalcoatl, the plumed serpent, one of the most significant and storied figures in Mesoamerican visual culture. Produced over a decade, the late 1940s through the 1950s, Carrington's work in tapestry exemplifies her experimentation in mediums as well as collaborative projects. To create these tapestries, Carrington worked with the Rosales family, a family of master weavers from San Miguel, Chiconcuac, who lived and worked with her on and off during that decade. Carrington would create the images, decorative arrangements, and color schemes, and the weavers would execute her vision at the loom. References to Mesoamerican mythological figures and creatures, plumed serpents, hummingbird deities, anthropomorphized butterflies, abound in Carrington's artwork, a testament to the way in which the legends and mythic beings of her adopted homeland permeated her imagination with a cultural syncretism. Carrington's creation of her own personal mythopoetic pictorial universe meant developing figures which appeared time and again, like recurring characters in an epic poem. For her, The hero figure was undoubtedly the horse. Horses first appear in some of the artist's earliest works, like More Frontiers of Space from 1941, as well as in Rueda de los Caballos from circa 1954, both on view in the exhibition. And they continued to feature in her work throughout her long career. From a young age, Carrington looked to the horse as a surrogate self or animal alter ego. In some works, she invests the animal with human characteristics. In others, she mines its significance in different mythological traditions and its symbolic potential. For example, in Equinoccio from 1958, a majestic, statuesque horse is posed in profile, like a 19th century equestrian portrait. This central figure stands within a celestial space, surrounded by a combination of planetary forms, diagrammatic lines, animal figures, and obscure symbols. Above the horse, an aperture opens onto the night sky. The title, Equinoccio, could indicate both the painting's protagonist, a horse or equinus, as well as the equinox, the 2 days of the year in which day and night are of equal length. Though the roots of equinox and equinus are distinct, Carrington's painting delights in the conflation of terms and the chain reaction of symbolism and meaning that flow from them. The painting's symbology hints at mythical, alchemical, and astrological indications. This sort of personal myth-making, of combining universal symbols and multicultural references into an entirely original concoction, is at the core of Carrington's art practice. Nowhere is this better demonstrated than in La Cuna, a sailboat baby cradle sculpture that was carved by Carrington's friend Jose Horna and painted by Carrington in celebration of the birth of Horna's daughter, Nora. La Cuna offers insight into how Carrington translated and transformed the fairy tales and stories that shaped her childhood imagination. She adorned the hull with a pictorial hero's journey, the passage of time reinforced by the sequence of waning and waxing moons and growing sunbursts that float above the scene. This fantastical coming-of-age tale is pictured as a procession of hybrid animals and illustrates 4 different stages in the life of its protagonist, Nora Horna. Nora is represented throughout as a radiant white being. First, she appears as a baby born from an enchanted tree sprouting from a giant egg. Next is a small child riding in a carriage with a star above her head. Then is a girl running with her arms outstretched, chasing a red orb. With the final Nora appearing on the opposite side of the boat, a woman figure with a white stellar headdress riding in an airborne vehicle with wings and a propeller. This mature Nora's arms reach towards a green-robed, bearded figure who beckons back, his head surrounded by a star shape which mirrors her own. From birth through childhood into womanhood, escorted by magical beasts and transported by enchanted vessels, the decorative cycle reads like a visual fairy tale. From the stories and myths that shaped her imagination to those she created herself, Leonora Carrington, Mythopoesis, delves into the unendingly fascinating and complex world created by Leonora Carrington. In the words of the artist herself, the Red Queen told Alice that we should walk backwards slowly in order to arrive there faster and faster. The sacred deer is still worshipped in the desert here in Mexico. The cabbage is still the alchemical rose for any being to see or taste. Footprints are face to face with the firmament. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of Leonora Carrington, Mythopoesis, presented by Gallery Wendi Norris.